All right, welcome back to the Elias Macko Show. By now, you may have heard the news. An Air Canada jet traveling from Montreal to New York LaGuardia's airport last night crashed into a fire truck on the runway, killing the flight's two pilots, injuring dozens of passengers. Authorities say all 72 passengers and 4 crew members present on the flight have been accounted for. 41 people were taken to 2 hospitals in nearby Queens, New York after the crash. 9 still in care as of this morning, some in serious condition. Airport officials say the fire truck was responding to a separate incident related to an aborted takeoff of a United Airlines flight. LaGuardia Airport in New York is going to remain closed until at least 2 p.m. today. We head over now to Keith Mackey, Aviation Safety Consultant at Mackey International. Keith, welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you.
Keith, what's your initial reaction to the the images we're seeing? As daylight came over New York and we see the front of the plane, what does that tell you about what happened last night?
Well, it was totally destroyed, which is why the 2 pilots died. It was not survivable from the cockpit end of things. And now we have to find out why. And there's going to be an ongoing investigation, of course, because the accident occurred in New York. It'll be the responsibility of the National Transportation Safety Board here. However, Transport Canada will certainly be participating. They'll first try to reconstruct things. They'll get the cockpit voice recorder. They'll get the recordings to the tower. They'll try to find out if both airplanes were on if the airplane and the fire truck were on the same frequency, or if perhaps they were on different frequencies, which caused the confusion. And all these things will be discovered rather quickly as the investigation proceeds. They've got a lot of.
Sorry, finish your thought.
They've got a lot of avenues on which to go. I'm sure they've done quite a bit of it already, but it'll be probably a year before the official report comes out.
Can I ask you the details that we do know so far? What are the details that are sticking out to you in your mind as avenues that need to be further investigated, or things that you're scratching your head over?
Well, the airport is an unusual airport. It's got very short runways. They're only 7,000 feet long. So real large airplanes don't operate in and out of there. There's only 2 runways, and they form sort of an X. The runway that was in question is runway 4, and the pilot was landing on runway 4. Near the approach end of runway 4 is where the fire station is located. So for the airplane to hit the fire truck, he would had to have been paralleling the course of the airplane down the parallel taxiway. And he probably, if he's driving the fire truck, would not be able to see the airplane at that point. So apparently someone saw what was happening and gave the command to stop, which was unheeded. Hence, we had our collision. Very sad thing, but we'll have to find out why it happened and what we can do to prevent it from ever happening again.
And of course, that fire truck, as I mentioned off the top, was responding to a separate incident, aborted takeoff of a United Airlines flight. I think there's already been some questions about staffing, and we've heard a lot about this over the last little while, about air traffic controllers and level of staffing. Can we talk a little bit about those concerns? Are there enough air traffic controllers? Are they taxed? And could this be an example of overtaxed air traffic controllers?
Well, I think it certainly could be. There's been a lot of discussion about that, particularly with recent accidents that have occurred where the tower was understaffed. And it's a very difficult thing to say. It'll certainly come to light as the investigation unfolds, but that's definitely a possibility.
Keith, have you heard the audio, the air traffic control audio by this point?
I haven't heard the air traffic control audio. I've heard the what I assume is the ground control audio, where they're telling the fire truck to stop. And apparently they told him several times, and he either ignored the command, which I doubt, or he didn't hear it, which I think is a definite possibility. And my thought there is perhaps they were transmitting on different frequencies. Perhaps the tower was transmitting on one frequency and the fire truck on the ground control frequency. But that'll come out fairly quickly, I think.
Keith, for the benefit of our listeners, we played it earlier, but I'm going to replay that ground control audio here that we do have just for you and our listeners. I should point out a lot of portions where there is no audio have been cut out here, and the end of this audio where you hear these controllers talking about the incident and one saying that they messed up, that came 18 minutes after the actual accident. So let's have a listen to this audio.
Truck 1 and Company, LaGuardia Tower, requesting to cross 4 at Delta.
Truck 1 and Company, cross 4 at Delta.
Truck 1 and Company, crossing 4 at Delta.
Frontier 4195, just stop there, please. Stop, Truck 1, stop. Stop, Truck 1, stop. Stop, Truck 1, stop. Delta 2603, go around, runway heading 2000. Jet 646. Jet 646, I see you collide with a vehicle here, just hold position, I know you can't move. The vehicles are responding to you now.
Is the runway closed?
Delta 2603, go around, runway heading 2000.
Heading 2000, go around, Delta 2603.
LaGuardia Tower.
Truck 32, runway 4 is closed, correct?
Yes, go on to runway 4 now. Proceed on runway 4, you have access. Frontier 4195, I got the word that we're going to be closed for a little while. If you want to prepare to return to the ramp, let me know.
Yeah, we got stuff in progress for that, man. That wasn't good to watch.
Yeah, I know I was here. I tried to reach out to my stuff, and we were dealing with an emergency earlier, and I messed up.
No, man, you did the best you could.
So there's that audio out of the ground traffic control. And again, I'll mention again, that did not all happen back-to-back presented there. Those are bits and pieces, and that last bit happening 18 minutes after the crash. We're with Keith Mackey, aviation safety consultant. Keith, what does that audio say to you?
Well, it's confusing because we can't tell who's transmitting at any one time. Now, when they lay the recordings out and work with them as part of the investigation, they will know which microphone transmitted which audio, so we'll know whom was speaking. That's the confusion right now. I can't really tell who might have been at fault, although clearly somebody was.
Keith, does this incident remind you of previous incidents, or any? Do you see any parallels with other crashes?
Well, if it turns out to be a manning problem, we're going to be thinking of the crash in Washington a little over a year ago, where the tower wasn't properly manned and where we're getting transmissions meant for helicopters that were being acknowledged by airplanes. It was a very confusing situation. And I hope that the LaGuardia situation doesn't prove out to be the same thing.
You know, Keith, that flight leaving Montreal, our listeners, you know, I've heard people say this morning, you know, that could have been me on that flight. This is a flight Montrealers take to go to New York on these regional jets. What are your thoughts on just plane safety, aircraft safety right now? The issues we see, perhaps with staffing, air traffic control, ground control. I mean, I don't want to ask, is it still safe to fly? I know the statistics prove it overwhelmingly, but do you have a thought or two on the safety right now?
Well, I certainly think we have to come back and revisit that issue and see that all the controller positions are properly manned. It's not an unusual situation to be short of tower personnel, but generally it's workable. There's sufficient people there to be able to get the job done safely. We want to make sure that this was one of those cases, and we're not uncovering another line of possible shortage of manning the tower controller positions.
And Keith, the use of fire trucks and other vehicles, emergency vehicles on the runway. Can we talk about protocols, things that are in effect when the fire truck does need to go on the runway?
He still needs clearance to cross the runway. He certainly should be aware of the active runway. In fact, in many cases, both runways are always active, and you need a special clearance to cross the runway from the tower anytime you do. So that shouldn't have been changed. It sounded to me like initially someone was cleared to cross runway 4, and then I don't know the time frame because the audio is rushed together, as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
At some point later, they cancel the clearance, told them several times to stop. Now the question becomes, was the person transmitting stop on the same frequency as the fire engine? And that we'll certainly find out, hopefully very shortly.
Keith, I want to thank you for your time, your insight and analysis this morning. It's appreciated.
You're very welcome.
Keith Mackey there, aviation safety consultant at Mackey International.
iHeartRadio is throwing it back.
2010s, the decade.
To the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd,
and more. All your decade-defining favorites, all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away.